Sonny pressed himself against the wagon, pushing with all his strength. The wagon inched closer to the cliff's edge, its wheels scraping against the jagged rocks. Shifty and Scholar struggled beside him, their faces strained with effort. The tyrant, Mountain King, roared in the distance, its massive form swaying as it fought against the chain around its neck. Sonny thought to himself,
Roll, you creaky piece of shit.
The wagon teetered on the edge, the chain pulling taut. Sonny gave one final push, slamming his shoulder into the wagon. The wheels slipped over the edge, and the wagon tumbled into the abyss, dragging the tyrant with it. Sonny fell to his knees, breathless, as the creature disappeared into the darkness. Sonny muttered under his breath.
Go and die, bastard.
Sonny collapsed to the ground, utterly exhausted. His body ached, and the cold began to seep back into his bones. He stared at the night sky, waiting for the spell to announce his victory. But no voice came. Instead, a dark figure appeared above him. Hero stood there, calm and composed, despite the dirt and scratches on his armor. He extended a hand to Sonny. Hero said,
Stand up. You will freeze to death.
Sonny ignored the hand and slowly rose to his feet, his body trembling with pain and exhaustion. Around them, the stone platform was littered with the bodies of slaves and soldiers, horribly maimed or torn apart. The bonfire cast flickering shadows over the carnage. Hero led the group to the bonfire, where Shifty and Scholar were already seated, keeping their distance from the soldier. Sonny sat apart from everyone, his mind racing despite his exhaustion. The warmth of the fire did little to ease the tension in the air. After a few moments of silence, Hero spoke, his voice calm but firm. Hero said,
Once the sun rises, we will gather whatever food and water we can find and go back down the mountain.
Shifty glared at him, defiance in his eyes. Shifty snapped,
Why should we go back? To be put in chains again?
Hero sighed, his expression softening. Hero replied,
We can go our separate ways once we leave the mountains. But until then, I am still responsible for your lives.
Scholar opened his mouth to speak but hesitated. Shifty cursed under his breath, seemingly convinced by Hero's logic. Then, Sonny spoke up, his voice quiet but firm. Sonny said,
We can't go down.
All three turned to him, surprised. Shifty barked a laugh, shaking his head. Shifty said,
Don't listen to him, your lordship. This boy is touched by the gods. He's crazy, is what I'm trying to say.
Hero frowned, his gaze shifting between Sonny and Shifty. Hero said,
The two of you are only alive thanks to this child's bravery. Aren't you ashamed to badmouth him so?
Shifty shrugged, unashamed. Hero turned to Sonny, his tone serious. Hero asked,
Tell me, why can't we go down?
Sonny shifted uncomfortably, his eyes narrowing as he spoke. Sonny replied,
Because the monster isn't dead.
Sonny's words hung heavy in the air. The group stared at him, their eyes wide with fear and disbelief. He pointed upward, his voice calm but firm. Sonny said,
The monster jumped from an incredible height to land here. Yet it wasn't harmed. Why would it die from falling off the platform?
Shifty cursed loudly, crawling closer to the bonfire, his eyes darting into the darkness. Scholar rubbed his temples, muttering to himself. Scholar said,
Of course. Why didn't I realize that?
Hero, the most composed of the group, nodded slowly. Hero said,
Then we go up and over the mountain pass. But that's not all.
Hero rose to his feet, brandishing a sharp knife. He gestured to the torn bodies scattered across the platform, his voice steady but urgent. Hero said,
If the monster is still alive, it will return. We need to gather supplies now and move at first light.
He pointed to himself, then to each of the others, assigning tasks. Hero said,
I'll carve the oxen for meat. Scholar, find firewood. Shifty, gather warm clothes. Sonny, collect water from the soldiers' flagons.
Shifty's eyes gleamed as he glanced around, already planning to loot the dead. Scholar grimaced but nodded, while Sonny remained silent. Sonny moved through the shadows, shivering as he collected flagons from the dead soldiers. His tenebrous eyes pierced the darkness, revealing the carnage around him. He stumbled upon the old veteran who had whipped him earlier, now dying from horrific wounds. The soldier weakly reached for a shattered sword on the ground. Sonny picked it up, his voice cold. Sonny said,
Are you looking for this? Want to die with a weapon in your hands?
The soldier didn't answer, his eyes filled with an unreadable emotion. Sonny sighed, his expression hardening. Sonny said,
Well, it might as well do. After all, I promised to watch you die.
With that, he slit the soldier's throat, ending his suffering. The spell's voice whispered in Sonny's ear.
You have slain a dormant human, name unknown.
Sonny flinched, then froze as the spell continued. Sonny thought to himself,
Yes. Come on, give me something good.
Sonny's excitement faded as the spell revealed his reward. Sonny thought to himself.
Received a memory silver bell.
He summoned the runes, reading the description of the small bell. Sonny thought to himself.
Silver bell, a small memento of a long-lost home, which once brought its owner comfort and joy. Its clear ringing can be heard from miles away.
Sonny sighed, disappointed. Sonny thought to himself.
What a piece of crap.
Despite his frustration, he dismissed the runes and focused on the task at hand. He stripped the dead soldier of his fur cloak and boots, finally feeling warmth for the first time since the nightmare began. The group spent the rest of the night huddled around the bonfire, their eyes darting nervously into the darkness. Hiro sharpened his sword, the sound of the whetstone scraping against the blade oddly comforting. At dawn, they loaded themselves with supplies and set out into the cold. Sonny glanced back at the stone platform, his expression unreadable. He had survived the caravan's destruction, but the nightmare was far from over. Sonny stood at the edge of a vast chasm, staring down at the remnants of the road. A recent rockfall had obliterated the path, leaving them stranded. The group had planned to escape over the mountain pass, but now their only option was to climb the treacherous slope. Scholar's voice broke the silence, muffled by his fur cloak. Scholar said.
What do we do now?
Shifty glared at Sonny, his frustration boiling over. Shifty shouted,
I'll tell you what we need to do. Get rid of some dead weight.
He pointed at Sonny, his voice rising. Shifty said,
Listen, your lordship. The boy is too weak. He's slowing us down. Plus, he's weird. Doesn't he give you the creeps?
Sonny struggled not to roll his eyes. He knew he was unlucky, but the caravan's doom wasn't his fault. Scholar cleared his throat, trying to calm the situation. Scholar said,
But I've never said that.
Shifty interrupted, his voice sharp. Shifty said,
Whatever. Shouldn't we get rid of him just in case? He can't go on for much longer anyway.
Scholar gave Sonny a calculating look, then shook his head. Scholar said,
Don't be too hasty, my friend. The boy might prove useful later on.
Hiro finally spoke, his tone firm. Hiro said,
We're not going to leave anyone behind. As for how much longer he'll be able to endure, just worry about yourself.
Shifty clenched his teeth, but finally waved a hand in resignation. The group looked at the broken road, then up at the steep slope. Scholar broke the silence, his voice calm. Scholar said,
Actually, in the old days, there used to be a path leading to the peak. If we reach it, we can find our way back to the undamaged road.
Shifty stared at the slope, his face pale. Shifty said,
Climb that. Are you insane?
Scholar shrugged helplessly. Scholar said,
Do you have a better idea?
No one did. After a moment of hesitation, they began the ascent. Sonny left his short sword behind, knowing every extra gram of weight would feel like a ton soon enough. The climb was pure torture. Within half an hour, Sonny's muscles felt like they were melting, and his lungs were on the verge of collapse. He clenched his teeth, forcing himself to keep moving. One misstep on the icy slope could send him tumbling to his death. To distract himself, Sonny thought about the rewards of completing the first nightmare. The boon would grant him the ability to perceive and interact with soul cores, the foundation of power in the dream realm. He imagined the possibilities, but his optimism was short-lived. Sonny thought to himself.
Who needs excellence? Give me power.
As the sun dipped lower, the air grew colder. Sonny's mental escapade had at least helped pass the time. He glanced up, noticing the shadows lengthening across the slope. The night was approaching, and with it, new dangers. The group pressed on, their exhaustion palpable. Sonny's thoughts turned to the future, wondering what kind of aspect ability he might receive and what flaw would come with it. He sighed, his breath visible in the cold air. Sonny thought to himself,
Maybe I'm allergic to dreaming.